I'm delighted to be addressing this year's graduating class, our 99th since the founding of Cathedral School for Boys in 1904, and its first graduating class in 1912. With the closing of Central this spring, Marshall will now be the oldest high school in the city. You are all part of a very proud Duluth institution. It's been a long time since I last addressed a group of graduating seniors. While teaching at the American School in Cyprus in the early 1990s, about the time you were all born, I was twice selected by students to be their commencement speaker. I was greatly aided, I believe, by the fact that they often confused me for a classmate. Unfortunately, after my second speech, in which I read from Dr. Seuss, I was not nominated for a third year. I know what you're thinking. Dr. Seuss? That's sweet. Why wouldn't they ask you again? I'm pretty sure it wasn't the source material, but the fact that I held up the book in a giant outdoor Roman amphitheater, thinking that the audience might be able to see the pictures. Learned a great deal about public speaking since then, and perhaps my greatest source of inspiration has been the Muppets. The son of Muppet creator Jim Henson once said that whenever his father was writing a skit and didn't know how to finish it, he had three choices: have his characters blow something up, eat something, or throw penguins in the air. Now, just in case you're a bit worried right now, know that I've got a sandwich under this podium. So with that, let's begin. Graduates of the class of 2011, I am your third head of school in your 4 years here. I joined Marshall this fall with a lot of work to do and not much time with all of you. As you might expect from somebody who has come to lead an institution with such a fine academic tradition, my first order of business then was to throw an ice cream social. It was a stressful time. It was at my house, my first chance to meet with you, and perhaps sensing my nervousness, Megan graciously broke the ice by spilling chocolate sauce all over her t-shirt. It was an obvious attempt to lighten the mood and distract the group from my sweaty-handed palm handshakes. Thank you, Megan. I owe you one. Matt did his best as well, going all Eddie Haskell on my wife, Krista, with the smiles and the yes ma'ams. All winter long, my family would attend hockey games, and I'd listen to Krista say, "Where's that nice boy Matty from the ice cream social? Is his line on the ice yet?" Then Matt would go and deck somebody, and she'd say, "Now that doesn't seem like the Matty I know." As the glow of that ice cream social faded, and I've gotten to know this class, this school, and the community as a whole, I stand before you today a bit troubled. Perhaps the only way to put it is in the words that I overheard while standing in a grocery store line. Marshall is a school for the privileged. Now, why should we care what other people think? Well, first, because of the reasons those people are wrong, and second, because of the reasons they're right. In their 4 years of high school, today's graduates have performed 7,464 hours of community service. This breaks down to 120 hours per senior, or an average of 30 hours per student per year. 4 seniors, Ella, Aaron, Thomas, and Corey S., ruined the curve by doing more than 100 hours each in their 4 years in high school. Among their many different senior projects, this graduating class has raised money for several local charities and volunteered at our local zoo, local youth centers, local schools, local sports organizations, local animal shelters, and local outdoor organizations. Well, the naysayers will retort, Marshall kids all look the same. At the core of the Marshall mission statement is the goal of educating students to become global citizens. There's a lot of exciting research being done right now showing that the collective output of groups is enhanced when its membership is more diverse. Our world is more interconnected than ever, and here at Marshall, we believe that diversity is a component of excellence. Despite the common misperception, Marshall School is the most inclusive of the 3 public high schools in Duluth. Last year, the latest in which we have information, 19% of Marshall students, nearly 1 in 5, were part of a minority group. That compares with 17% of the students at Central, 14% at Denfeld, and just 7% at East. We take great pride at Marshall that all of our students feel welcomed and valued. All of you, faculty, staff, students, and parents, make that happen. I'd like to argue that the story of Marshall, and this senior class in particular, is one of purpose, not privilege. To all of the parents sitting in this room, you know what I mean. This year, 23% of Marshall families make less than $50,000 a year. And paying tuition for high school, no matter what your income, represents a real financial sacrifice for all families, including some of the grandparents in this room. That sacrifice sometimes takes the form of a deferred vacation, an older model car, or a second job. In some cases, the students on this stage have offered up their own savings or contributed by working in the evenings, weekends, or summers. For all of you sitting on the stage today, you are intimately familiar with the sacrifice you made to attend Marshall. You opted for a different school than all your peers in the city, a place that promised to challenge you academically. For some of you, that sacrifice has been a bit longer, and I'd like to ask all of you who have attended Marshall since 5th grade to stand and be recognized. The sacrifices to attend Marshall are many. By joining our school, you opted for extra homework with classes too small to hide under the radar. Many of you played 3 athletic seasons, participating in some sports that you just picked up a year or 2 ago. You juggled involvement in music, drama, and clubs. And through your community outreach efforts, you've learned the value of service. And ironically, perhaps, in a time when so many schools have metal detectors and police cars patrolling their parking lots, your family paid money to send you to a place where teachers actually got in your face if you wore a hat to school. Or you didn't stack your chairs after lunch. My goodness, the head of school even poked fun of you if you dripped a little chocolate sauce on your blouse, or wore a Miller High Life t-shirt to his ice cream social. I'm certain that some of our concerns seemed overly fussy, especially considering the larger problems in the world and the screeching that passes today as public discourse. I can only promise you that with the fullness of time, you will come to appreciate this aspect of a Marshall education, and most certainly when you have kids of your own. Now, as an experienced graduation speaker, I will tell you that this is the part in the speech when I use a story to illustrate my point. Or I can just go Muppets on everybody and blow something up. So to the story. One day this fall, Alex was pulling into Central Entrance near the McDonald's. He failed to judge the traffic clearly and sideswiped an oncoming red Subaru. A police officer happened to be pulling onto the road from the other side of the street. Alex was able to pull out of the busy traffic first, but soon all 3 cars were able to converge on the side of the road. Just imagine those long seconds as Alex sat in his car waiting for the cop and the other car finally to pull next to him. Now imagine Alex's face when I slowly stepped from that red Subaru. Let's just say that I smiled, Alex did not. Do you guys know each other? The police officer asked. Now, in most places, that would be the end of the story. But our tale continued a few weeks later when I got an email from Alex asking me to write him a recommendation for a college scholarship. I smiled again. Now, there are a lot of phrases not suitable for a G-rated graduation speech to describe the guts that it took for Alex to make that request. And I was proud that he asked. If he was able to compartmentalize a setback and not let that cloud our relationship, then why should I? He made a mistake, paid for the damage to my car, and moved on. He was gracious throughout and it is amazing what you can do when you take the high road in life. Now, this story, like most in real life, does not end with a neat and tidy conclusion. I wrote the letter, but Alex did not get his scholarship. That's life. But the outcome in no way diminishes the fact that Alex had the confidence and sense of self to try for something that might be a little out of his grasp. If you were able to eavesdrop on the thousands upon thousands of graduation speeches this spring, you'd most likely hear a variation of a very similar theme. Graduates, go forth to pursue your passions. Figure out what makes you happy, follow that dream, and make your mark. I wish it were so, but I think that advice is backwards. That's not the way the world works, not when your parents were young, and especially not now. How in the world can you be expected to know what your dreams are in life when you're only 18 years old? As David Brooks recently wrote in the New York Times, successful people are successful because they look beyond themselves, saw a problem in the world, and figured out a way that they could match their skills to address it. Their passion grew out of matching their abilities to the need, rather than waiting for the world to bend around their dreams. The days of lucky breaks and getting by are gone, if they ever really existed. Today you can expect to have easily a dozen jobs and change careers a few times before you retire, if you ever get to retire. So what skills are necessary to compete in this complex and demanding world? You start by knowing yourself, what you like and what you're good at. Then you work hard and do more than just those things you find fun or easy. By doing this, you will be ready to capitalize on opportunities that others will miss, because they are too focused on themselves and lamenting how the world is sabotaging their dreams. Now, this is the part of the graduation speech where I'll either throw a penguin in the air or use an example from my own life to illustrate a point. Since some of these graduates on the stage volunteered for Animal Allies this spring, I think I'll stick to a story from my own life. When I graduated high school, I did not have a dream to become a teacher or a head of school. If I had anything close to a dream, which I didn't, it would be to get as far away from school as possible. When I got to college, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I picked my major, philosophy, because I happened to do well in an introductory course. I did like to write, and when I saw in my sophomore year that our student newspaper was having a hard time finding an editor, I applied, despite having written not a single story for the newspaper in my previous 2 years. It's kind of like Alex asking the person he smashed into for a letter of recommendation. But I got the job, filled a need, and finally found my first passion, journalism. Life took another turn 7 years later, when I left my job as a news editor in New Jersey to move overseas with my wife for a 2-year contract teaching at the American School in Cyprus. At the time, I felt it was a good opportunity to add an international experience to my resume. Once I got in the classroom, however, I found it very rewarding, and a new passion was born. I have now returned to the United States after 17 years living overseas in Cyprus, Brazil, and the United Kingdom. A need for overseas teachers turned into a passion, turned into a way of life. I have now returned to Minnesota to fill a need here at Marshall, and this school and all of you are my new passion. Thinking back to my days at Lakeville Senior High School, there's no way I ever could have predicted this path. But every way along the journey, I have kept my eyes open to new opportunities and tried to match my skills and interests with the needs that I have seen around me. I'm sorry, kids, your parents may dote on you, but the world really doesn't care about your dreams. The world is diverse, fast-paced, and demanding, and anything but fair. During your time at Marshall, you have taken your first steps at finding your passion in life. By attending this school, you have planted a flag in the ground and declared, I have high expectations for myself. In that way, you are all privileged indeed. You have found a purpose in your time here at Marshall, and I wish you all the best as you continue your education and find a larger purpose later on in life. On behalf of your teachers, the staff here at Marshall, and of course your parents, let me offer our congratulations. You are now part of a very special family of Marshall alumni stretching all the way back to 1912. In the years to come, We hope you return to the Hill and share with us the ways you have matched the needs of the world with your own unique set of skills and talents. Let me close with a quote and a short poem. From this year's final orchestra concert, I give you the obscure Beethoven quote, "Give Sweeney more solos." And I leave you with a poem from Ralph Waldo Emerson. To have succeeded, to laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, to know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived, this is to have succeeded.